90% of youth coaches in America are volunteers. That's not a criticism, that's a fact. And for most programs, it's also the single biggest reason they can't grow, can't sustain quality, and can't survive when the wrong person walks away. We built a program in rural Northern California that now serves over 1,500 athletes across 5 sports. We know exactly what it costs to run on a volunteer labor. We've lived it, and we've spent the last years building our way out of it, not by abandoning volunteers, but by understanding what they can and can't carry. This video is about the problem. We built a program in rural Northern California that now serves over 1,500 athletes across 5 sports. We know exactly what it costs to run on volunteer labor. We've lived it. And we spent the last several years building our way out of it, not by abandoning volunteers, but by understanding what they can and can't carry. This video is about that problem and the framework we've used to start solving it. Here's what happens in almost every youth sports program at some point. You find a great volunteer coach. They're passionate, the kids love them, and they show up every week without asking for anything. So you build around them. You give them more responsibility. You make them central to how the program runs. And then life happens. They get a new job. They move. Their own kids age out of the program. And suddenly, you're not just losing a coach. You're losing the person who knew how everything worked. That's the volunteer dependency trap. And most programs fall into it not because they're careless, but because it feels like the right thing to do. You reward the people who show up. You lean on the people you trust. And before you know it, your entire program is one resignation letter away from a crisis. The problem isn't volunteers. Volunteers are essential. The problem is building a professional load program on an amateur capacity structure. There's a difference between a volunteer who contributes to a system and a volunteer who is the system. The first one is sustainable. The second one is a liability. In a suburban club with 800 kids and a $2 million budget, you can hire your way out of this problem. You bring on a paid technical director, a paid administrator, maybe a few stipend coaches. The infrastructure exists to support that. In a rural program or an underserved community, you don't have that luxury. Your pool of available coaches is smaller. Your budget is tighter. Your families are spread across a wider geography. You can't just post a job and expect 10 qualified applicants. So you make it work with what you have, which usually means asking volunteers to do things that paid staff should be doing. Curriculum design, player evaluation, parent communication, program administration. And those volunteers say yes because they love the kids and they believe in the mission, which makes the problem harder to see and harder to fix. So how do you start solving this without a budget to hire full staff? We break it into 3 moves. Move 1, separate the roles. Not every coaching function requires the same level of commitment or expertise. There's a difference between someone who runs a drill at practice and someone who designs the curriculum for an entire age group. There's a difference between a parent volunteer who helps at a tournament and a lead coach who helps evaluate players and communicates with families. Map out every function your coaching staff performs. Then ask honestly, which of these require a professional level of commitment? These are the roles you need to either pay for or protect from volunteer turnover. Those are the roles you need to either pay for or protect from volunteer turnover. Move 2, build the pipeline before you need it. This is the one most programs skip. They wait until a coach leaves to start thinking about who replaces them. By then, it's already a crisis. The programs that handle turnover well are always developing the next generation of coaches before they need them. In our program, that meant investing in former players, kids who came through the program, understood the culture, and wanted to give back. We didn't wait for them to show up and volunteer. We went and found them. We trained them. We gave them small responsibilities and grew them into bigger ones. Felipe Chavez played for us in junior college, earned a scholarship to Kansas, came home. We invested in him and he became our boards director. Juan Jacinto grew up in our program with no pathway. found his way to ours. Now he runs our Willits location. That pipeline didn't happen by accident. It happened because we built it intentionally. Move 3. Create the first paid position before you think you can afford it. This is the hardest one because it requires a financial decision most programs aren't ready to make. But here's the truth. The moment you create your first paid coaching role, even if it's a small stipend, even if it's part-time, everything changes. It changes expectations. It changes accountability. It changes how the person in the role shows up. And it changes how the rest of your volunteers see their own roles. You don't need to pay everyone, but you do need to pay someone. The right person in the right role with even a modest stipend sends a signal to your entire organization that this is real. This is professional, and this is worth taking and this is worth taking seriously. We didn't get there overnight, but the day we made our first paid coaching hire was the day we stopped being a volunteer. None of this is easy, and we're not going to pretend it is. Creating a paid position means finding the money. Separating roles means having hard conversations with volunteers who've been doing everything. Building a pipeline means investing time and people before you see a return. And in a rural program with a tight budget and a small staff, all of that feels like it competes with just keeping the lights on. But here's what we've learned. The programs that stay stuck in volunteer dependency don't stay stuck because they can't change. They stay stuck because the problem is invisible until it becomes a crisis. By the time you feel the pain, the damage is already done. The move is to see the problem before the crisis hits. That's what this framework is for. If you're running a program right now and you feel like you're one person, if you're running a program right now and if you're running a program right now and you feel like you're one person leaving away from, if you're running a program right now and you feel like you're one person leaving away from serious trouble, you probably are. And the answer isn't to hold on tighter to the people you have. The answer is to build a system so that no single person's departure breaks everything. Separate the roles, build the pipeline, create the first paid position. Not all at once, not perfectly, but intentionally. We put together a free guide called Why Most Youth Sports Programs Fail. We put together a free guide called Why Most Youth Sports Programs Fail. Volunteer overload is one of the 5 reasons programs don't make it. The guide walks through all 5, and what the programs that survive actually do differently. It's free, PDF and audio included. Link is in the description. If you're building something in a hard place, this is for you. We put together a free guide called Why Most Youth Sports Programs Fail. Volunteer overload is one of the 5 reasons programs don't make it. The guide walks through all 5, and what the programs that survive actually do differently. Free, PDF and audio included. Link is in the description. If you're building something in a hard place, this is for you.